Now, today's guest is somebody that I first started watching back, I guess in the late 90s, but it really kicked off about the same time I got my first tarantula. So I'm sitting in my college dorm room, I get my first tarantula, and one of the ways I was kind of getting over my arachnophobia, I don't know if it was actually a phobia, but my extreme fear of spiders was just kind of like immersion therapy. I got the tarantula and learned a lot about it, but I also would take it out of its enclosure sometimes and just kind of let it walk around on me while I was studying or watching TV in the dorm room. And one of the shows I loved to watch was MadTV. It was hilarious, and there was a lot of great cast members there. And so I would have my tarantula crawling around. Maybe not even crawling around on me, just like hanging out and just like sitting on my leg or, on my chest or something, just like freaked out. Like, why am I on this person? But I didn't know any better back then. But would be laughing, watching MadTV and really enjoying that. And I did a podcast a few weeks back with Nate from Micro Wilderness. So if you haven't checked that out, you should give it a listen because that was a great conversation. But he mentioned that one of his customers was Debra Wilson from MadTV, and I was kind of blown away. One, that he even knew her and talked to her on a semi-regular basis, and she was a customer. But the fact that she kept tarantulas and scorpions and exotic pets at all, I found fascinating. And much to my surprise, she heard the podcast and was like, I want to come on and talk to you. So I was like, hell yeah, let's do this. Now, unfortunately, she is in Hollywood. She's out in LA. I'm here in the Appalachians, so there's a time difference, and she's a busy woman. She works a lot, does a lot of voiceovers. She's an actor. I don't know what they're called anymore, but she does amazing work, and a lot of it. I mean, just go check out her IMDb, and it's like this endless list of credits. She's been in video games and cartoons and shows, and just, I mean, we talk about it in our discussion some, but so she's busy and was only able to record like 9:30, 10 o'clock LA time, Pacific time, which was like 1 o'clock in the morning for me. So it was really late. I'm not even sure exactly what I said because I was fighting to stay awake, I guess. Not really. I was really excited, but I get loopy at night. After midnight, who knows what's coming out of my mouth, but we'll find out soon. So welcome to the podcast, the one and only, the amazing Debra Wilson.
How are you, sir?
I am good. I'm a little tired, but
and thank you for your patience, and thank you for this really late night, Tarantula Collective podcast with me. And I hope you don't mind that I got in. It's hot here in LA, and I'm eating sorbet.
That's totally fine. I can imagine.
Yeah. But
good. Awesome.
Yes, and thank you for allowing me to indulge myself.
Yeah, no problem. There's so much like just viral content out there of people pretty much harassing tarantulas and scorpions, like trying to get them to give a threat pose or slap or try to bite, and I understand that to some people that might be exciting to see, but I feel like especially for young kids, like someone my son's age or something, they see that and they kind of think that's how you treat a tarantula that you have as a pet. You know what I mean? Like I know when I got my first tarantula, I was I was in college, but this was like just out of college. I'd had it for a few years. I had it in my apartment. It was sitting like pretty much, I mean, it was a crappy little 1-bedroom apartment. So it's like the living room and the bedroom, and then there's like a half wall, kind of like an island that separated it. That was the dining room, I guess. So it was like on that little shelf wall that separated the kitchen from the living room is where its little terrarium was. So people would come over and we'd be hanging out and drinking or partying or doing whatever you do. And there was just one girl in particular that would come over and hang out a lot. She just felt like the tarantula was staring at her the entire time. And I was, I didn't have the heart. I could have just said, well, it can't see that far away. Like, you're fine. But I was like,
eyes are on the top.
Yeah. It's like, no, it's looking at your toes. It wants to eat your toes. Cause she was always walking around barefoot and like, we just to mess with her. But it seemed like I'm young, 20, maybe 21. And we get drunk and somebody would start talking about the tarantulas and what I would like open up the enclosure and have a little paintbrush or something and just kind of, you know, mess with it until it kind of would give a threat pose just to impress my friends and try and look cool. You know, looking back, it's like, man, that among many other things, like as far as the husbandry was concerned, it's like, it was really bad. That was really irresponsible, you know, kind of embarrassed about that. But like,
you shouldn't be. I'm going to be your alter Negro.
Okay.
The reason you shouldn't be is because there's a learning curve for each and every one of us, and no one should judge anybody's learning curve, especially judging your own. Because that was a part of the stepping stone to who you are now. Someone I admire and respect, someone who's still teaching me stuff, someone I'm still fascinated to learn from, someone who had to take those steps in order to be someplace else. So in order to be someplace else, you need to be where you are to go, this is such a powerful experience from the past, and I'm growing my wisdom because of my respect for these amazing sentient beings, these arachnids and these invertebrates, that I can use that not only as my stepping stone, but a teaching tool for those that are younger coming up with their fascination. I can use this as a teaching tool of what I was and who I am not. I can use this as a teaching tool of respecting an animal. I can use this as a teaching tool of looking back and reflecting what this does to an animal, because I have enough of them to know what a stress is and what can be an end result of a stress. So all of that is a part of the course of learning. So you don't need to be embarrassed by that. Embarrassment is a state of mind that describes a situation that the two don't equate, because it's really not an embarrassing thing. It's just that you told yourself that, so you've accepted that in your linear thinking. And this way you judge yourself as a limitation. But you've been so unlimited in what you put out and the content that you put out on a regular basis that it is, dare I say, some of the most impressive things I've ever seen online when it comes to that, which is why I became a fan, number one. And number two, who you are now is who you became based on all that stuff. All of this stuff that I'm seeing now and getting to know you now came from that.
That's true.
It came from that.
Yeah.
And it's because you have this powerful place now. And if someone said, where did this powerful place come from? It just doesn't come from your fascination, your love, and your joy. It came from the things that you did that said, I will not do that again.
Yeah.
I didn't have a full understanding. I didn't have a full appreciation. I didn't have a full respect. But the full respect you have now came from not having it, a lack thereof. So that's nothing to be embarrassed by. In fact, I would throw away the embarrassment completely and say, this is my teaching tool.
That's a good point. Yeah.
For everyone who hasn't gotten to the place that I'm at yet, this is my teaching tool and your path.
Yeah. I mean, that was like the closest I've ever come to getting bit by a tarantula, was doing that one night. Not 100% paying, like maybe not even 40% paying attention.
Wow.
You know, turn around, look at my friends like, isn't this cool? And then it just like, you know, flew up the little paintbrush towards my hand and I dropped. It was like, whoa, I probably shouldn't be doing this. That's not a good idea.
Wow. But
it was like a little rose hair tarantula. It wasn't anything that was going to put a hurt on me. But unfortunately, my personality, I guess, I tend to only learn after making mistakes. Like that's kind of been the story of my life. Make a terrible mistake, like
you've learned after those mistakes.
Let's not do that again. That was dumb.
So but you've learned after those experiences, because again, each and every personality that comes to this planet in this form has their own method of learning. Who's to say that it comes from books? Who's to say that it just comes from education from someone else? Who's to say that it, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I do.
So we all have our own way of learning. And that's what makes us truly unique.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned more through experience.
Judge ourselves and just allow that experience. If you do that time and time again, it still leads you to this path that you are. You're a light in the world of these beautiful creatures. You're a light and a beacon because you stand for something. You don't just love them and are fascinated by them. You stand for something. Because I've watched the other videos in which you're just narrating them with footage like a documentary, and they're beautiful because you stand for something. And so no matter how you learn, the learning is the end result, and that end result is what makes you as powerful as you are, because you stand for something. You don't just do what you do. You have a great purpose to lead people in the opportunity for joy and respect, fascination, education, information, and it all comes together. It's a culmination of who you were to who you are right now. So there's nothing to be embarrassed by whatsoever. And the way you learn is simply the way you learn. Without judgment, it's simply the way you learn. Because the bottom line is, Richard, at the end of the day, you learn.
That's true. Yeah.
And then you have the responsibility and the respectability to help others do the same.